Welcome to the 2014 Rebuild Homes Edmonton Open Squash Tournament. I'm Tom Bedore with former world champion Jonathon Power. You've won virtually every title that there is in squash.
Except the Edmonton Open.
You've never won the Edmonton Open? No, I guess you haven't.
No. That's it. Maybe it's time for a comeback.
I think it is time for a comeback.
You might have to drop it to about a $2,000 tournament.
Now, you have won a lot of tournaments in this club, the Royal Glenora, though. I mean, you played here many, many times. What are your memories of the Glenora?
Well, the first time I came here, I lost in the National Under-12 final when I was 9. And that was 1984.
That still hurts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's burning. Duncan Peak, he's my accountant now. That's funny. Last time.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it reminds me every time during tax time. You remember I beat you when I was. No, that's funny.
Yeah.
Those are early memories, and then now I've been here so many times over the years, playing lots of different things, nationals and different events over the years. And did that big tournament at the mall that one year, which was fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I want to.
Years of just coming here, so yeah, it's cool.
It's been good.
Good place for me.
Yeah. As I mentioned in the introduction, you've won virtually every trophy that is available in squash. And there were rumors that you didn't care about the trophies. As a matter of fact, I remember that, hearing that you left a trophy in a hotel room once, a major trophy, I can't remember what it was. Is that rumor true? And
yeah, I don't have any trophies. I didn't keep any trophies.
You didn't keep any trophies?
No medals, no trophies. That's not
Why?
It's not my style. I don't know. I just not attached to the past, so I left it there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cleaning ladies around the world with some good trophies. I think. Hotel here, hotel there. But yeah, that was just my thing.
Now, the only medal that you haven't won, I guess, in squash, because it's not available, is the Olympics. Do you regret the fact that you never were able to play in the Olympics, and do you think it's ever going to happen that squash will be an Olympic sport?
Well, I certainly don't regret it, because it wasn't on the radar of a kid trying to be the best squash player in the world. It's like, yeah, I regret not winning the NBA championship. Like, not really. Doesn't factor into my sport, so it's not part of it. It's not part of it at all. But if it ever gets in, then that will be a new goal. That certainly would create a bit of profile for some of the guys that won that medal. But yeah, it wasn't something you aspired to as a kid, right? You wanted to be the best squash player in the world, and you played in the court by yourself, saying, "Oh, this is to win the British Open, or this is to win the World Open." Not this shot at this nick is to win the Olympics, because it wasn't on the radar. So,
and
it might be.
Yeah, and are you involved? Do the people in the know, the people who are trying to get squash into the Olympics, do they contact you and ask you to be a part of the bid?
I've been in, I guess, part of some rudimentary discussions, but nothing formal. I kind of stay away from the politics stuff, and I have some ideas, but I wouldn't go through traditional channels like roundabout ways of doing things like that. I'm not so into navigating through political quagmires. It's not worth my time.
You go straight to the ball.
Straight to the ball. Straight to the ball. So yeah, I'll leave that to them.
There's I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
There's an interesting website called Kick-Ass Canadians, and they featured you. You were the first celebrity featured on this website, and they talked about why they picked you, and it was not necessarily because of all your accomplishments in professional squash, international squash, but more because of what you've done afterwards, particularly with Maria Turberquet-Wazir. Why did you decide to accept her invitation? She was trying to, get out of Pakistan, and you were the only one who said, yeah, I'll accept your request and you can come in.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm kind of maybe predisposed to it a little bit. I opened a center for kids and underprivileged kids trying to realize their dreams through squash, so she fit the mold beautifully. And I spent a lot of years in Pakistan, and I lived in a Jahangir, Rama Khan's house with Jahangir when I was very young, and I grew up my summers with a Pakistani family, so I knew the culture, and I knew the situation that it was for girls to be able to play sports. So I was probably more predisposed to helping than other people. So no problem to lend a hand, and it's been great. It's been really rewarding for me, and for her, it's been great to watch her develop.
I want to ask you about her. What was that like, going to Pakistan, living there? How old were you when you went to live?
Oh, I was in England living with a Pakistani family, but I was playing the tours. I've probably been there 20 times.
Sure.
So playing tournaments and stuff like that over the years and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I lived with Jahangir and Rama in London when I was young, training. So that was they were the king of the squash, right? They're the rulers of squash, and I learned so much of my stuff from them. So if I can give back to those people, I'd be happy to.
Now, you talked about helping underprivileged kids. Is that with the Urban Squash Program in Toronto?
Yeah, that was sort of the foundation of the National Squash Academy, right? It was always about creating a squash education opportunity for kids from sort of underprivileged families, or that don't necessarily get the same access, would never get access to a sport like squash. It's pigeonholing clubs and stuff like that. So it's a program that's been really successful in the States, and it's something that I've given my time to a few of the programs in the States, and I wanted to develop that in Canada with a group of people, and so we formed Urban Squash Toronto, and that was sort of the anchor of the NSA, or the National Squash Academy. So that's what I was referring to.
Now, in addition to Maria, you've also helped the current world junior champion, Diego Elias. How did you connect with him? How did he connect with you? Similar way? Was
it's funny, yeah. No, I've always been big in trying to promote squash and grow squash, and especially in parts of the world that haven't traditionally had squash at the forefront. Kind of like my story. Like in Canada, squash was nowhere when I was coming up, and so I came from a place where squash, being a squash champion, was certainly not the norm. And he's from a similar situation, so I like helping all those smaller countries that don't have infrastructure and have like teams and have all the information when they're competing against Australians or English or the Egyptians and the French. They have so much access to information and training facilities and stuff like that. But when you're a good player from a country like that, you're really trying to piece it all together. You and a committed parent is usually how it goes. And so I was happy to reach out to him and say, why don't you come here and I'll teach you a couple moves. And and then he came when he was about 14, and we stayed in touch and watched his results. And he won the British under-17s. And then I said, well, when you're ready, then come up to Toronto full time. And he came up probably about a year ago when he was just turning 17, just after that British. And we've been working together ever since, and he's done crazy improvements since last year. Just jumped straight through a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I had my first opportunity to watch him here at the Reed Bell Holmes Edmonton Open. He took out both the Schnell brothers from Calgary in straight games, particularly the match with Andrew Schnell, who I thought played brilliant in that game. But Diego was incredible, and I was wondering if you had been teaching him some of your trick shots, your fake shots, because he was certainly displaying those in that match.
For sure, yeah. He's added that to his game, and getting on the ball early and holding, and creating different options. And he's a clever kid, and he's got all the natural talent. And just still some steps to go for sure, but for somebody who's turned 18 last week, he's got a good future.
No question. Well, he almost took out the #1 seed in the tournament, Turek Momin, who is ranked 9th in the world.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, it went 5. Turek dominated in the fifth, but
he told me
Diego was up 2-1.
Yeah, it was 2-1 for Love, and then he kind of hit the wall. He's just not physically strong as he should be, maybe at this age. He's not. He ran out of fitness, but the best thing that came out of that is he was legitimately pissed off that he lost that match, and he should think like that. Not, I'm happy to go 2-1 up against the guy who's the top 10 in the world. Like, I should have beat that guy, and I'm pissed that I didn't. And that's the right attitude, because he's at that level, so there's no reason to put a guy on a pedestal that you can beat.
You never had to grow that attitude, did you? From what I've understood, at a very young age.
I pretty much thought I was the master of the universe at age 8. It hasn't turned out that way, but delusion is sometimes a good thing for sports.
So back to Maria again. The TED Talk, as I say, was incredibly impressive. I just wonder how that interaction was with her when she first arrived. Was it difficult communicating with her? I'm assuming she didn't have much of a handle on the English language at that point.
Oh no, she speaks great English. Yeah.
Oh.
She speaks like 9 languages, dialects. She learned in her father and her sister. They just read books.
And the TED Talk story was so compelling. I mean, knowing that she burnt all of her clothes as a child, she didn't want to be a girl anymore because she
saw how the girls treated. Well, yeah, or just what their options were in life, and she had different ideas. She wanted to explore and do things. She was a bit of a tomboy and sort of wants to be out there doing in the action, not sort of sitting on the sidelines watching it happen. So, yeah, she's a natural warrior for sure.
Is this your own way of kind of dealing with Islamic extremism, helping out someone like Maria? Do you care? I mean, it's in the news all the time. Do you think about that?
No. Do I think about it? Yeah. Do I think I'm consciously doing something like that with Maria? No. I mean, I'm trying to inch the social dial in the right direction forward, but not specifically targeting Islamists or extremism or anything like that. I mean, certainly I'm about progress and about a modern world, not like living in the dark ages, whether it doesn't matter what culture you're from, but I want everybody to sort of be moving forward. Otherwise, you can't get left behind, or economically you'll just be crushed. You're living it's a philosophical argument. I believe the world's always going to be better in the future. You got to keep pushing everybody there for the future. Anyway,
some of your big influences in your career, obviously your dad was a huge influence. What sort of impact did he have on your squash career?
Oh, he's the architect for sure. He's the guy who's had it in mind from the beginning. You know, that's what I wanted to do. I played all sports, and I happened to be good at sports, and I wanted to do sports professionally from a very young age. And he sat me down at 12 years old, and he sort of, from his experience, because he was sort of master of a lot of, or jack of all trades, master of none, sort of at a lot of sports, and he wanted me to specialize young, which wasn't common back then. It's common now, but back in the 80s it was not common. You usually just played baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer. We played everything, right? Tennis, squash, whatever you could.
Sure.
And then you never really got great at one. You were maybe good at all of them, but you were never great at one. So he was smart enough to
So did he
point me in the right direction. And
did he pick squash, or did you?
No.
pick squash?
He let me choose. No.
Sure.
Yeah. No, he let me choose, and I chose squash, and he was happy with that because he played every day, and I think that's part of the reason why I chose, because I spent so much time around him at the squash courts watching him play and stuff like that. So that was his source of enjoyment and fun and stuff like that. So I think when you're a kid, you just kind of want to fit in there somehow, and the culture is great. Like the clubs, the people,
Sure.
like it's such a great little community, right? And compared to some of the other sports where this is suffocating the parents and keeping the kids over here, and so ultra competitive, and they're so lost in the fact that their kid is going to go pro, or like they have no idea. they just don't understand all the steps, you know. Yeah, that's yeah, squash was great. It was more like you just played because you love squash, and the people that played were all individuals and all. Pretty cool.
Mike Way is the current Harvard head squash coach. Also had a big impact, I think, on your career. What do you owe to Mike?
Mike was yeah, a phenomenal influence and a very calming influence. So well, Mike was more than anything psychologically was, you know, very helpful, and he just dedicated a lot of time, and you know, and just helping me manage those tough years, and created, you know, a place for me to go, and gave me some great ideas, gave me great tips on the squash court for sure.
You retired you retired in 2006, world #1, which, what better way to go out? Since then, though, some of your contemporaries, Greg Gauthier, Shabana, they're still playing. You look like you could still play. I just watched you on the court. Do you ever...
For 5 minutes. If there was a 5-minute playoff, I'd still be in the show.
Do you ever regret retiring at that age?
No, for sure. No, that's what I mean, like I said, I won everything there was to win in squash, and I did it for 17 years. I experienced everything, all the levels, all the highs, all the lows, all the whole circus. I love playing squash, but I didn't, like, I was tired of the circus, the massages, the vitamins, the morning practices, the anxiety, all of the things that go along. The actual squash I still loved, and I was still playing my best when I retired, but the rest of it I was done with. I wanted to have a family, start new projects, and I wasn't using, you know, I was idling. I felt like I was idling playing tournaments after so many years. I wanted to change it up and develop myself in some other areas.
So you have Power Squash Academy, you have the National Squash Academy, you have Urban Squash. What do you want to accomplish now with all of that? What are your hopes?
Well, I'm trying to create you know, access for kids to, you know, realize their dreams. If their dreams happen to be in squash, then I want to make it accessible to them. You know, I want them to have an infrastructure in place where they can go and they can get all the ideas, get all the information, and then I leave it up to them to see how far they want to take it, but what their aptitude is and how much they really want to put into it. But I want to create a sort of platform for everybody to be able to gain access to being as good as they can be.
Right, and the place to go is Power Squash Academy or the
National Squash Academy, Power Squash Academy. It's all the same type of thing. It's just helping people achieve their goals within the sport, and yeah, so that's what I'm trying to accomplish, and you know, trying to create some growth there. And there's a lot more kids playing, and kids that wouldn't normally get to see squash, and I've seen some juniors develop, and things like Diego and Maria developed out of that. And
any Canadians coming along?
Got some good young Canadians, yeah, like 15 and 16-year-old kids that are pretty good. That'll be in 2 years they'll be talked about.
Any names we can talk about yet?
No, I'm not.
That wouldn't be good for them?
No, it's not good for them. Yeah. But there's some guys that you know, if they keep on the right, it's the commitment. They keep that same commitment, that same desire to be as good as they can be. They're going to be great, you know. So, but I don't want to get them too excited before they go to work, before their time. Yeah.
The biggest tournament ever in Western Canada, and certainly one of the biggest ever in Canada, was at the West Edmonton Mall a century ago, almost, I guess now. What do you remember about that? You were in the final with Peter Nicol?
Yeah, I remember I played Palmer in the semis, I think, or
yeah,
I had
Ricketts.
Ricketts, Palmer. I played Palmer. I played them both.
Yes.
So I played a whole. Anyway, it was a fun tournament, you know. Had all my buddies. I played terrible in the final. Peter played really well. I should remember he played really well. It was cold court. He was on the ball early, and I was off the pace that game. But playing in Canada was always good for me. I always played well here.
And you still get together with Peter from time to time?
Yeah, a few times a year. We do
exhibitions?
some fun events that he puts together with Tim Garner. They do the Legends of Squash. So that was we do Bermuda, Aberdeen, some different places around the world. And yeah, it's been fun. Catch up, tell glory stories when we used to be good at squash.
Now the rebuilt homes Edmonton Open has gone from 15,000 to 35,000 this year. How important is it that we have tournaments that are becoming bigger and bigger in this country from a financial standpoint?
That's amazing. It's amazing to have a tournament like that size out here. 35,000 in Edmonton, Halifax doing 50, Montreal doing 35. There seems to be a good group of tournaments in Canada that the guys sort of just inside or just outside of the top 10 are able to play, and then the people from these cities are getting to see really top quality squash. Like there's some good squash players here this week,
Yes.
which is like it's It's going to be fun. The 15,000s were great, and there was some good squash. I saw some great matches in those years, but this is next level, and so it should be fun to watch.
And this tournament you continue to support because you are a friend of Jeremy Main, who's the sales and marketing guru at Rebuild Homes. Why do you continue to come out here and support this tournament?
Well, Jeremy's been my best friend since we were kids, and he's putting his money and his passion into the sport of squash. So for me to come out and support that is an automatic, right? Plus, to back a few beers and watch some squash together. It's not a bad weekend.
And he just walked in the room. Jeremy, come on over here and join us. We have a seat for you.
Oh, great.
So, when did the two of you actually meet? How long ago was that?
Probably we were about 12.
Yeah, 12, I think Ottawa District. I think playing basketball. He never passed the ball.
But we won, didn't we?
We won, yeah.
You were playing basketball as well?
Yeah, we went out. I remember there was a bunch of us, Rob Wilson and Kelly Patrick and the whole 74
Joel
ladies.
Clark.
Joel Clark. We all went out to the hoops and were shooting some b-ball outside of the school.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I think that's when
That's
the
the
relationship
beginning.
started hanging out. We actually realized that guys from East and West can get along.
I remember us.
It made me think of a funny story.
What's that?
Oh, that same weekend, like I'm not gonna tell this.
Yes, tell us. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
You're
It's offside.
Is it offside?
Yeah, but it was pretty fun.
We'll tell you after the camera stops.
Now, I do remember, Jeremy, you talking about when you realized Jonathon actually might have the potential to become world number one. That was after you'd known him for quite some time. You recognized his talent, but to become the top player in the world, that took a while. When was that, and when did you sort of come to that conclusion?
Well, you got to realize this is before or just right at the beginning of the internet, so it was kind of hard to follow his career in his early ages. You might see a little clip on the score at the bottom of a thing after 1,700 different curling stats and hockey stats. So I remember following his career, kind of word of mouth and coming down the courts and hearing how well he's doing. Yeah, I just realized that I remember when he went on his big run and he had to qualify. It was a German Masters or something like that. He had to qualify or something like that. He got into that one. I think
Tournament champion.
Tournament champions, and then you won back-to-back major tournaments.
Yeah.
But I do remember spending New Year's with him, and this is like when he was 30 in the world, and he was expecting to be top 10 or top 11, and the rankings came out via fax, I think. Came out, he was 19 or something.
12 or something.
Yeah, he wasn't very happy. Let's just say that he punched the wall. Or he kind of punched something, and it was with your left hand, which is really smart. But that was when I knew that he was like, yeah. And spending time with him in Toronto during that time, he was getting up the first thing in the morning, going for a session. I was sleeping in, and then he'd come, we'd go for lunch, hang out for a bit, and then we'd go back to the court. So he was doing that religiously. I was like, well, okay, he's really taking this seriously.
There was quite a group of players from that era. I mean, Kelly Patrick, Graham Riding, of course, who
Top
made
10
it
in the world.
top 10 of the world, and a variety of other guys roughly about the same age. How did that happen? Was it just luck, or was there something that helped you along?
Yeah, I mean, it was luck. It wasn't by any kind of structure or any kind of association or one coach, or it was a group of people that had different coaches from different parts of the country that just happened to push each other, like be ultra competitive guys and want to be better than the next guy, and they all were talented guys, so we just kept pushing each other, and everybody kept going back and training hard for the next tournament, year in, year out, and then all three of us ended up playing on the circuit and the national team together, so
It's incredible.
for years, so it was fun.
What does squash need to do now? I mean, there's been some innovations over the past 30 years, certainly with rackets and the way we film squash. Is there anything we can do now to compete with all the other sports? And today, compared to 30 years ago, there are so many more sports that are now entering the Olympics and we're not. Is there anything that squash needs to do to change to be more accessible, to become more popular?
Well, squash is in a pretty good situation. It's one of the few sports that you can make your living out of for the rest of your life. From a very young age, I understood that. Like, there's not a lot of. I have a buddy. Like, being in the Olympics is not necessarily a great thing. It's good for infrastructure. It builds you a bunch of courts. It's going to create national. A buddy of mine won Olympic gold, or a guy I know won Olympic gold medalist in gymnastics, which a ton of people do, and it's a really hard sport. And he was like, I'm going to Romania next week and they're paying me $500. And I wouldn't teach a 12-year-old kid for 20 minutes for $500. So the squash is in a great position, right? It's swimming. You know how hard those guys work? Yeah. They don't get paid anything unless you're Michael Phelps and you're doing Subway commercials. Like, there are so many sports. Squash is in a great position. So they'll whine about, we want to be popular like those other sports. There's media properties and then there's sports. They're two totally different things. So hockey's a media property, baseball, soccer, boxing, UFC, these are media properties. They're not sport. Their sports are sports. They're all the same, right? Everybody gets into a sport to be the best they can be at a sport. Like, not to get rich, not to get, like, you'll never make it if those are your motivations in any of those sports, in any of the media. And the only thing you can do to make squash a media property is develop a media property out of that, but that's a huge investment. And it's a high-risk investment, and nobody's come up with the desire or the money or the capability to do that yet. And it's possible, but it's not something that you should be envious about.
I also think, if you decide to go on the tour at a young age and, you battle it out, the good thing about that is when you get a little older, a little long in the tooth, you can actually, all these guys are going to end up, well, not all these guys, but a lot of the guys who dedicated their life to squash now can become club pros and live a great lifestyle.
Yeah, golf, tennis, skiing, squash.
Yeah, I mean, going to work in a tracksuit is
that's about it. There's not
and
many
you can make a
sports
good
you
living
can
too.
you can do.
Bring up a family in that environment is also really nice as well.
We do need the money though, and fortunately, you have decided to commit your company to this tournament. How come?
Well, I mean, Jonathan kind of said it before, but squash has given me so much. It's given me, best buddies like Jonathan and Kelly and Graham. And, I think as a person, I've grown a ton just because of squash and being, hanging out with these guys. And you do have to grow a pretty thick skin hanging out with these guys because there's a lot of jokes being made here. Squash has given me so much, and I'm in a position that I can give back, and this is how I'm giving back. And people coming by me and shake my hand and say thanks so much, and it's like I'm just doing it because I love the sport, and it's giving me so much, and I just want to give back,
including very clean skin.
Of course.
We better call it.
We'll cut there.
Yeah, right there. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. That was awesome. Thanks, Jared.
Thanks.
Yeah, right up.